Welcome, everybody. My name is Paige. I'm here with Barb, and we are on Watch Me Grow. I have Channing with us.
Hi.
I'm happy you're here with us.
Finally get to meet you in person.
I know. Isn't that funny?
I've known you from a distance for 15 years.
But we know each other in person, too.
Yes.
But are you being filmed, too?
Yeah.
I don't know why I point like that.
Yeah.
Right there.
Okay, good. Because it's moved. It's moved. So welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I always tell the audience that this is not scripted. We have not spoken about what we're going to talk about. I so far have not had to one time. I'm sure if I get really serious about this podcasting thing, I'm new to it. It's just a hobby for me right now. For us, it's something for us to do together. We're in our home, so it's nice to be able to just like get out of bed and do this if we wanted to. I'm trying to not do like interviews before, so everybody just gets the real raw version, because that's just my personality. Like,
Right.
I don't want to be scripted. I don't want to be edited. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I know your story, obviously. That's why I wanted you on the pod.
Yeah.
And Barb used to work for us, and she has a story to tell. So that's why you're here. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So this camera's you.
Okay.
That camera's me, and then that camera's both of us.
All right.
Right, babe?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's a lot of cameras.
I know. And then he's got a camera over there. Okay.
Yeah. So we met, well, actually in person when you were going to start franchising.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
The last
you've
time
blown
we
up.
that was a while ago too.
Yeah, I think that was right when I started working for Yoga Joint, which was 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I was with you for a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to I left Orange Theory because
Yeah.
I was with Orange Theory
For a long time.
12 years.
Yeah.
And started my own business, Band
So
Fit for
cool.
Life, nutrition, gut health coaching, which has come in very handy
Yes.
lately. And yeah, I've been in fitness my whole life since I was 18. I got my degree in exercise sports science from University of Florida. I've taught every class possible. Reebok Step back in
cool.
yeah, way back then. So yeah, I've been in fitness my whole life, and that's been
Wait,
my
is
life.
this appropriate? Can I ask how old you are?
52.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I'm
amazing.
52.
Amazing.
Yeah, got.
So he went to Florida State, but he's a couple years
She's
older.
in Florida.
I know that. I was saying he went to Florida State. I heard.
There's only one day out of the year that we won't get along.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a
I don't-
lot of Florida State.
I don't care anymore at this point. Like, at this
Yeah.
point, I'm over it.
A lot of Florida State friends.
Our older kids, one went to UF and one went to Florida State. So and then
The
he went
split.
to, yeah.
The house
So we used to
divided.
have like the T-shirts that said like house divided. And stuff. It was cute.
You know the whole deal.
Yeah, exactly. And my stepdaughter is like a die-hard University of Florida fan. Like,
yeah.
Right?
Yo, she's
Die-hard.
Die-hard.
Yeah.
So I would always root for them. So she had somebody in the family because everybody rooted for Florida State. So anyways.
It's fun. It's
Yeah,
fun.
good. It is fun.
So I always say I got punched in the face in May of last year. I got out of nowhere. I actually found the lump, but I got diagnosed with breast cancer. I was laying on my couch and I had my arm up and I scratched my rib and I just grazed my breast. And I was like, and there was like, it felt like a little BB. And I was like, and I gave myself a self-exam and I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, no way.
Yeah.
And then the next day, like I couldn't find it, right? And so I was like, oh, okay. I've always had fibrous breasts.
Yeah.
And I kind of blew it off for a little bit, month or so. And one of my friends, I told her, and she was like, you need to get it checked.
Yeah.
You need to get it checked. I'm like, I know. And then, yeah, man, May 24th, I got told that I have breast cancer. And
So you went to your gynecologist.
I went to my general practitioner.
Okay.
Who is my gynecologist. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And you said I felt something, and
Yeah.
they did an exam.
yep.
And
then
they
he
felt
said,
it?
yeah. And he said,
Okay.
let's do mammogram. Let's do. And I have
Ultrasound.
dense breasts, so
Yeah.
I knew I needed.
Why
ultrasound.
is that? Why do women with small breasts? Because mine are the same. They're super dense, but I mean, you have more than I do. But
Well, now.
But yeah,
Now I do.
I want to get to that. But why is that, doctor?
Well, the density is the thing that they can't see through it with the mammogram all the
but
time.
why small? You would think.
The density doesn't matter
Oh,
if it's
it
big or
doesn't.
small. No,
It just
it's the
seems like-
tissue that it makes it up. So
But
it's
all
kind of like
small-breasted women are
It
dense.
does.
Yeah,
I thought
most.
that till just this moment. So there you
because
go.
there's fiber and fat, and the more fiber stuff feels kind of like dense. The fat makes it kind of more fluffy.
Okay.
But yeah, the
And so the
different
cancer
textures.
tends to go in the dense breast. Is
No,
that fair
it just
to
makes
say?
it harder
No.
to see on mammogram. So when you do a mammogram, if it's a big, huge fat thing, it just all the X-rays go right through. If it's more fibrous, it doesn't get so much through. So they want to do an ultrasound just to check.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I watched the episode with Deirdre, and there were so many things that she said. Like, I teared up.
Yeah.
Speaking of crying.
I did too with her
Yeah.
because she's been my best friend since I was 12. And literally right now we're planning our summer vacation. Like she's one of my closest people to me.
It was, for me, it was nice. I mean, I hate hearing somebody else's story because I don't wish any of this upon anybody, but listening to her, because in the beginning when I announced it, everybody was like, I have this person, talk to this person. And it was like overwhelming. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody about it. I'm still processing. And honestly, she was the first person that I actually listened to her story.
Oh, cool.
And there were so many things that she said that I was like, oh my God, yeah, going to the beach. When she said she went to, that was my saving grace.
Wow.
Was going to the beach and sitting there and meditating and praying and crying and like, what do I do? And,
What next?
All the things. So, it was really, I enjoyed that episode. It made me.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Deirdre.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
All the cameras.
But yeah, then the whole thing, the emotion, it all started. And,
Did you think, how could this happen to me? I'm so healthy.
yeah, I was pissed.
Of course.
I was very angry.
Of course.
I went into like a 5-day hole of anger and like I felt like somebody punched me in the face and ripped my soul out all at once.
I imagine. I know Deidre felt that way too, as far as how can this happen to me? I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't drink a ton of alcohol. I work out constantly.
Yeah.
I'm healthy. I walk. I do my 10,000 steps. I get my protein. I do everything. Like, how could this happen to me?
Well, and especially in the last like 3 to 4 years, becoming a gut health coach and really I really cleaned everything up, even went from healthy to like very, very healthy.
Right. When she walked in, I said the candle and the wick are non-toxic. Is that all right? That was the first thing, because that's the first thing I think of.
Yeah.
Even in our own house. And we have so much more to go because of the products. I'm trying to slowly, I just ordered my daughter and I makeup that's non-toxic.
Good.
It's,
Good.
you know who,
Thank you.
you know who, bless you.
Bless you.
It's, God, she's married to Wahlberg. What is her name? The blonde.
Jenny McCarthy.
Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah. So it's her company. She's the only makeup company that's recognized by the Environmental Workers Group.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's called Formulas. And she's fairly new into the space. So they I have the eyeshadow on right now and the cheek stuff, but they don't have a lot of like concealer or anything. It's getting there.
Right.
But so in my own home, I'm really trying to swap out candles, swap out products. And
It's a process.
yeah.
It's a huge
We just
process.
don't realize we're just completely overloaded. We're inundated with toxins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways.
And that was, it immediately I just felt like I was put on a conveyor belt, and it just took off.
Wow.
And it was like, okay, we've got a biopsy. And then thank God the radiologist who biopsied me was a member of mine at Orange Theory.
Oh, nice.
And so I knew him.
That's so good.
And for him to be the one to tell me that, it came back, it doesn't look good, but we're going to send it away. And then
what was the exact diagnosis?
So it was stage 1, triple positive.
Oh.
HERS2 positive.
God, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So for people who don't know what that means, can you explain a little?
It's early. Stage 1 is early.
Yes.
Triple positive means I'm estrogen receptor positive, progesterone receptor positive, and HERS2 positive makes the triple positive.
Okay.
And then HERS2 positive is a league of its own.
Okay.
So basically, they were telling me that you have a very aggressive and spreadable form of breast cancer.
Okay.
And you need chemotherapy immediately,
Wow.
like now.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What? And I just wanted like a minute to breathe.
Yeah.
And it just, things were like, okay, you got to meet this, you got to meet all these doctors. And I kind of played along, and the chemo thing when you said on your episode with Kelly about the vaccinating your children.
Yeah. That was one of those things I was going to take out, and then he encouraged me to keep it in.
When you said that, I knew that you would understand my feeling about chemo. Like
Yeah.
and I remember one of my friends said, Barb, you're going to have to bite the bullet on this one. And I looked at her and I was like, no fucking way.
Your gut will tell you.
Yeah.
Now, Channing explained chemo to me really, really well. He said, Paige, it's like a mosquito is flying around your body. One mosquito. Now we all know what a mosquito looks like, right? You see it and then you're like, oh, where'd it go? And it's biting you. And somebody's trying to take a baseball bat to kill the mosquito on your body. So what are the odds? Isn't that a great analogy?
That is a great analogy.
Now, somebody may be able to kill that mosquito on your body. So it does work. And there are a lot of positives to it.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of negatives too. And people have to weigh their own, pros and cons with it. And that's it. It's a personal decision.
Absolutely. And I hadn't fully said no yet, but I would go to the beach and I'm searching and and I started having nightmares, like over and over, these nightmares of like, I was in a dark room and there's like this red light and it was like the chemo, and I would wake up like dry heaving to where I would have to get up, go to the bathroom, and thinking that I was going to throw up. And I called my mom. My mom was living in Hawaii at the time. And I called her at 5:00 in the morning crying. And I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Mom, I can't.
Was that hard for her?
No,
Okay.
because my mom, when she was going through menopause, I was 15. Instead of doing hormone therapy, she changed her diet and became vegetarian and was able to manage her
Symptoms,
symptoms through her food. Then she became a raw foodist. She was a raw foodist for 25 years.
Wow.
And through her 60s, 70s, up until her 80s, blood work perfect.
Wow, that's so cool.
Nothing wrong with her whatsoever. And she gets it.
Making your personal choice.
Yeah. And she said, just like you said, she goes, honey, you need to follow your inner guide.
Yes.
Follow your
100%.
inner guide. It will not take you in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And that at that moment, I was like, okay. Now, and if I'm not going to do that, then I got to go all in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So tell us about, so I follow you.
Wait, so you didn't do the chemo?
no.
Wow.
No.
So they wanted me to do chemo right away. And I was like, no way. Then surgery. And I wanted the surgery.
Yeah.
Because I had 3 tumors.
Wow.
Yeah.
In one breast
Yeah.
or both?
In the right breast.
Okay.
At 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 7 o'clock. They biopsied the 5 and the 7. The 5 o'clock came up malignant. The 7 o'clock came up benign. They never touched the 6 o'clock. And so they did a mammogram biopsy, which that was awful, on the back side of 7 to make sure that it was benign, and it came back malignant.
Oh.
So the overall space from 5 to 7 o'clock when they measured it was 5 centimeters.
Okay.
And to get good margins, it needed to be 4 centimeters or less. So they said, we need you to do 6 rounds of chemo to shrink the tumor. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And I had actually, I fired my first oncologist.
Yeah. I think that's pretty common.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot.
And Ellen, who I'm very close with, the creator of Orange Theory, saw that post, immediately called me and, reached out to her connections. She got me somebody in New York called somebody in Miami and got me a surgeon in Miami.
Nice.
Thank God. And I called that surgeon and I said, I'm not going to do chemo. Will you still do the surgery? And will you do a double mastectomy?
Yep.
If you're going to take one,
Yeah.
just take them both.
That's how I feel.
And she said, if you weren't in the shape that you are in, I would probably say no, but I'll do it.
Nice.
And I was like,
It was a female.
yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, good. What they didn't know is the minute I found out, the protocol started. Like my brain went into research mode, like survival research mode. And I'm a researcher by nature.
That's so good.
Yeah. And anybody I knew, any resource I could get, I called the owners of Restore, and who I know the wife is a nurse. Luckily, a friend of mine, a client of mine who is now a very good friend and my battle buddy, she's a compound pharmacist.
Okay.
She reached out to me and she said, look, I take your class all the time. I know how you are. And if I'm going to send you some information, and if you think I'm crazy, you can throw it in the trash. But if it resonates with you, I want you to have
This information. Yeah.
and do with it what you want. And it was all about fenbendazole,
Yes.
ivermectin,
This is what I'm.
high dose vitamin C, a whole protocol,
Yeah.
cancer protocol, alternatively. And I read through it and I, searched and other things. And I called her up and I said, let's fucking go.
Yes.
Bring it.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
So we were just in Las Vegas for the longevity clinic, longevity conference, and they talked about the Fenben and the ivermectin a lot for cancer protocols. And Deidre's husband is a doctor, and he's been down in the deep with this.
Okay.
And really excited about it. And I was telling him that you were coming on the podcast. He's like, oh, I can't wait to hear what she has to say.
Yeah.
So, and then he's been talking about it. We're doing a parasite cleanse right now through the Cell Core.
Okay.
And we're only on day like 3 or 4 of the cleanse before you do the Paragard.
Right.
So I'll let you know. But so anyways, go on.
So there was a 9-week period between diagnosis and surgery. And it was like a double-edged sword. Like I wanted the surgery sooner because I wanted it out of me, but then I wanted it later because I wanted to see how much damage I could do.
Right.
Or damage in a good way.
Yeah.
With what I was attempting to do.
Yeah.
And so then it was 9 weeks, and I threw the whole kitchen table or the whole kitchen
like
sink
she'll
at
be
it.
posting, and she's got this fucking mask. Like I have no idea. I want to talk to you about it because I follow you intently. But she's on like a
Strider.
you know, the
Elliptical.
thing that okay, thank you, elliptical that goes like this. And she's
With the
pushing
oxygen
it.
mask.
And, it's an oxygen mask, but it's this full on like situation. And then you're sleeping in like some.
Are you doing hyperbarics?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm doing high dose vitamin C, 50
It's
grams.
through IV?
IV.
You're doing 50 grams IV.
50 grams.
Okay.
Once a week.
Are
And
you
then,
shitting yourself?
No.
So when you go through the
She's
IV,
like, no, Paige.
Well, you've got to ease
Because
into it.
yeah,
You've
if
got to
I
ease
do
into
high,
it, for
we
sure.
had a doctor, a
That's the
functional
benefit of
medicine
that.
guy, Bauer Schmidt, who also healed himself from cancer from high dose vitamin C in the 90s, when this was like, I mean, now people have heard of this. Back then, it was like he was a doctor, he was an MD,
Like voodoo, witchcraft.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing?
And he got us into the high dose vitamin C. And I don't do it on a regular basis, but as soon as I start to not feel good, I just down it. But then it, comes out the other way.
but when I used to do your IV, like I would do high dose with you, either 5 or 10 grams.
Yeah, I want to
But
get
she's
back.
doing 10 times that.
I want to get back onto that because that really helps.
Because you can do the high numbers through the IV and not get the stomach stuff that if you do it by mouth, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Not die, but
Okay, so anyways, high dose
So
of
that
once a week.
Yeah, and then hyperbaric after
where'd you do the hyperbaric?
at Restore.
That it's
In
a place
Boca.
in Boca.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have that here in
There's
Fort
a
Lauderdale.
hyperbaric place in Fort Lauderdale, like
Okay.
off the Galt, I think.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
you're right.
But the mask and the elliptical, that's the superhuman protocol. So that was a 10X thing. Gary Brecka would,
Yeah.
promote that as well. And I actually, last summer, not this past summer, the summer before, I went to 10X in Aventura. Just kind of fishing around to see what they do, and huge Gary Brecka fan. And when I got diagnosed, I was like, I knew how powerful that protocol is.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, if I got to drive to freaking Aventura, I'm going to do it. And I actually happened to be at Restore doing an IV drip. And this gentleman walked in, sat in the chair right in front of me, asked why my IV bag was different than everybody else's. And I told him why. And we started talking metabolic stuff. And he's a chiropractor in Boca that has the superhuman protocol in his office.
Oh,
Wow.
cool.
And I was like,
Thank you.
thank you.
I don't
now
have to
I don't
drive.
have to drive to Aventura.
I mean, it's the universe.
Oh, yeah.
I
mean,
love
it's-
stuff like that.
It's interesting how things have just stacked up for me to like follow this path. But it's first you do PMF mat for 20 minutes grounding to take out the electromagnetic frequency out of the cells to draw it out. And I do a lot of walking on the beach for grounding.
Yeah.
And then right after that, you put the oxygen mask on. You do intervals on the elliptical because that drives the oxygen deeper into the cells.
Okay.
And then right after that, you do the red light therapy.
Okay.
And that drives the oxygen even deeper into the mitochondria.
So there's a lot of conflicting information on the red light therapy. I don't know if you can speak to any of this, but I just ordered the Loom box. I don't know if you've heard of that one. Mm-hmm. And they had a sale. It's like $700, but it was half off. So I was like, oh my God, I'm getting it. My girlfriend, Laura Ramos, who I talk about on the podcast all the time, she's like just into everything. So I let her do all the research and crash and burn and whatever
She's your research
sticks.
analyst.
Whatever after I wait a couple months and then whatever sticks, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that, and that. So she's been talking about it on her post, on her stories about the red light, because there's all this conflicting information out there. Is the red light emitting the, what is it? The EMFs? You know, like that our watch does and our phone. So I have these things in my phone and on my watch, and I have them all over the house. I don't know if they're working, but I have them all over the house. They're these black charcoal triangle things, and people are like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's allegedly blocking our, cell phone stuff." I don't know. However, have you heard anything about this?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. And
David, see, that's on his.
Yeah.
I have it on the kid's phone.
She
on
has
his
it on my
phone.
computer, my iPad.
David.
Pretty sure it's on these headphones.
Dr. David Littman at Physical Evidence in Boca. He works very closely with Superhuman Protocol.
Okay.
And I think that depending on the apparatus that you're using, but
Okay.
he's never, and he knows
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do. So
yeah, and they
he's
say it too. The people on, I think it's called Loom. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. The red light box that I just got, but they also talk about it in a way that made a lot of sense to me. I was like, oh, okay. And I'm not a researcher. I that's why I love people that research, because I'm like, just give me the cliff notes.
Yeah. I haven't read anything, and if I did, I would not be doing it.
Right.
For
Of course.
sure.
Of course.
For sure. But in that 9-week period, and you brought up, I was sleeping in some room, the
Yes.
scalar waves.
What is that?
It's a
Are
frequency.
you listening?
Yes.
What are you doing on your computer over there?
Goodness. You're doing a podcast. Concentrate over there.
The scalar waves.
Scalar waves.
Yes. So it's a frequency. You go in this room, and that has the panels, and it alters the frequency in your body. And
Okay.
it is, I spent 20 hours in that room. And
Wow.
you can feel your body tingling, especially, it's very relaxing, first of all. And if you fall asleep, and I had this happen a couple times, and I was like, God, I hope I'm not snoring. But I'm like, oh shit. But I fell asleep, and I promise you, I swear to you, in my sleep, I could feel heat
Wow.
in my knees. I've had knee surgery. I've had a torn meniscus in my other knee for 15 years. And in my breast.
Yeah. So where you
I
have the
could
injuries.
feel heat and
crazy.
and tingling while I was sleeping. And they say if you can get into a very relaxed state or fall asleep, then it gets in because you're not fighting it so much.
Of course. Have you heard of speaking of Laura, have you heard of the Healy machine? So I'll send it to you. So it's a frequency machine.
I have a wand.
It's something like that.
Yeah,
It's a
my
thing and a
best
wand.
friend gave me a wand that does the same thing.
Barb is like, I have a wand. I'm like, Barb, that's a different podcast.
We'll have you back for that one.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
No, but Laura has this frequency machine too, and Dr. Karp has it too.
Yeah,
And when the kids were little, they'd hold the wand, and it would be like, we're gonna tell you. I took the kids to. I still see Dr. Karp. He's still around. He's a functional medicine doctor. And I took my MD husband when the kids were little. We pack up and I'm like, the kids don't feel good. We're going to Dr. Karp. And he's like, put them on an antibiotic. I'm like, absolutely not. To this day, the kids, they're 21 and 17. They've never been on an antibiotic. I don't know if many people can say that.
No, I don't think
I really
so.
don't. And thank you. I'm very proud of that because I was raised on an antibiotic every fucking week of my life. My mother was such a hypochondriac, and we were on that pink stuff, Augmentin.
Amoxicillin.
Amoxicillin every week. No joke. And I am still so messed up from it all these years later. And I've, of course, taken antibiotics as an adult. I rarely do, but anyways. So I take the kids with him, and I'm like, babe, just come with me just so you can see what this is about. And he is just like, what is happening? Dr. Carb's doing the wand, and he's like doing some like he's.
You're
it was
like,
just
you're
so,
a doctor, and you're like,
He
wait, what?
pulled out the Post-it notes.
Oh
and
yeah,
then
just,
wrote
and then
the
he pulled
numbers
out.
and then
He
put
would
them on
follow
the kids.
They would hold the wand. He'd be like kidneys, like spleen, everything. And then instead of acupuncture, because they were babies, he would put whatever message on a Post-it and he would tape it onto their body.
No way.
This is true. I went
yes.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Oh,
And
I saw it happen.
the next day they would be Michael from daycare had MRSA.
Oh, wow.
And he did some flower essence and some fucking Post-it, and this shit was gone.
Post-it. Just put a Post-it on it.
It was gone. So there's a book called The China Study,
Yes,
The Water. It was something with that.
Yeah.
And I had read the book, and he had turned me on to the book.
Just put a
and
Post-it on my tits.
exactly.
I told you.
Little do you know.
Damn it.
And it was so wild, but it would work every time. And he was like, this is like some voodoo shit.
Yeah, so I actually started to just suspend my beliefs because I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't understand, but okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna
I
roll
feel like
with
the
it.
kids have white pus all over their throat. I'm like, I have a concoction, clove, oregano.
Yeah.
He's like, that's not gonna work. By the end of the day, it'd be gone, and he'd be like, babe, this is wild. So now he tells his patients, he's like, oh, you have strep throat, go get clove. My wife does it.
Yeah.
I do tell them that.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
awesome.
So you're doing the superhuman protocol. You're doing
the scalar,
the scalar. I need to write that down.
high dose vitamin C, Fenben, ivermectin. I was put on a total protocol of supplementation. The first thing I did,
Wait, what were the supplements? Or what are they?
berberine.
Okay.
Let me think. Berberine, methylene blue.
Oh, I have that. I don't know
Yeah.
what to do. It sits in my cabinet because
Yeah.
I have all this
They actually
stuff.
mentioned methylene blue a lot at the longevity
They did.
conference.
They talked about that a
Yeah.
lot.
And
what
and-
does methylene
and,
blue do?
It repairs the mitochondria.
Okay.
So like
Everything is the gut, and mine's
all
all
about the
messed
cell.
up.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and that, like, for me, mentally, it's like, okay, I'm going after this cellularly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I know the body. I understand how the body works. And so I had to get real nerdy, sciencey, and just go, okay, I'm going after this metabolically.
Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
basically my take-home message from the longevity conference was that similarly, everybody knows the cardiovascular system and the respiratory system, but to do from the cell, we learn about the cell in medical school and in residency, but
Right.
to work it and to actually make it work better. So the reason you're getting age or disease is because the cell is not working the right way. So they go in, fix that part, and all of a sudden you're not having the same symptoms anymore.
Well, and I also wanted to refuse to believe that this just popped up. Like, they make it out to, like, it just happened to you. And I'm like, bullshit. Something is broken inside of me.
That's
and
how
it
I
is
feel.
my job to find out what it is, figure it out, do the work, and fix it. Unfortunately, I can't rely on the current medical care system to do that because they weren't interested in that. It was,
Did you do genetic testing?
I did.
The BRCA screening and all
Yep,
that?
negative.
Everything was negative.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So I knew that, something was broken. So one of the first things that I did that I would recommend everybody do, and do it for your children, is a methylation detox test.
Okay.
You got to know how you're methylating toxins.
Okay.
And
And if you have the MTHR.
The motherfucker
and all-
gene.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay.
so there's 5 genes. 3 of mine are faulty.
Got it.
Yeah, so they're classified like green. When you get the test done, they're either green, yellow, or red.
Okay.
So 2 of mine were green, 3 of mine were yellow.
Wow.
So 3 of my methylating pathways are not functioning properly. So boom, right
And that's
there.
just you're born like that.
Yep.
So that's like you can't break down glutathione or glutathione or something like that. That's one of them.
Methyl tetrahydrofolate, MTHFR, that one.
Folic
Okay.
acid.
Folic acid
is another
And so
one.
all of that is never getting into your system. So over time,
On a
I mean, in
way
layman's
less
term,
scale. Yeah.
yeah.
And somebody explained it to me in a pretty funny way. Is like, you remember Laverne and Shirley with the conveyor belt?
Yes.
And, you know, the conveyor belt gets backed up.
Right.
Yes.
And-
You don't do it fast enough.
Yeah, you're not doing the job fast enough, and it just builds up and it builds up and it
course.
builds up.
How do you get this test?
You can do well now. Now knowing what I know now, if I knew it then, I would do it different. I just did a DNA test
Okay.
that includes the methylation.
Okay.
So it's from the DNA company.
Okay.
I don't know if you follow.
Let me just write this down. Right?
Kashif Khan, I follow, and it's
I'm
a
gonna put my
DNA
glasses on
test.
so I can't see.
And I haven't gotten the results back yet. I'm like anxiously awaiting them. But my compound pharmacist, Brooke, she did the test. She actually did the master class to learn how to read the results. And she shared with me her results. And it gives you your methylation. It talks about, or it gives you a breakdown, some hormones, sleep, mood, food, like what
Right.
your genetics
Right.
work better with
Right.
protein, carbs, or fats.
Right.
Super important.
Right.
Because food is
It's so important. That's why
bio-individual.
sometimes carnivore is good for people and sometimes veganism is good for
Exactly.
people. And that's what I try to
Exactly.
say. People are all hot and bothered because I'm doing this carnivore. And I'm like, I don't know. I was vegan and I got sick. So
And felt like shit for
all
years.
the time, not knowing that I was that. And this seemingly I'm feeling better and better and better. I'm still pretty new to it. I'm like maybe 8 months in, but 8 months out of 46 years of it's going to take some time. But it is interesting. I think to myself, maybe my body's just meant for this. And maybe
Yes.
it's not. I'm going to figure that out. But what works for me doesn't have to work for you and vice versa. But if you are sick and you're a vegan, maybe you do need to introduce something.
Absolutely.
And if you're a carnivore and you're sick all the time, maybe,
should
which
be.
I actually have never heard,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
okay. So
I'm a horrible vegan vegetarian. A
Same.
naturopath told me that in Hawaii years ago. She's like, you are not equipped for
So
that.
I had people tell me that too, functional medicine doctors for years. And I was just like, fuck off. I'm a vegan. Like, you can't tell me what to do
Right.
type of thing. And looking back, I'm like, I wish I could go back in time. I can't, but it is interesting how they do. And he's done all sorts of different tests on me. And it was crazy. Like, am I allergic to like green beans? I'm allergic to, or whatever. Like, and I'm
Right.
like, this is wild. Like,
Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts is one.
And
Mushrooms.
she eats Brussels sprouts. Like she loves.
Well, I
Brussels
was.
sprouts. Not now.
Mushrooms, black pepper,
Yeah.
blueberries. I'm like, blueberries.
Yeah.
Blueberries are the most
Oh.
antioxidant food on the planet.
Yeah.
But for my body,
Yeah.
they just happened to,
Yeah.
it was really wild. Oysters, like, that I loved. And
I get nutrition questions all the time. What do you think about this diet? What do you think about that
and you're
diet?
like,
and
I
I'm
don't
like,
know.
it's all individual.
Exactly.
You can't. It's
So wait, because I'm writing this down. The DNA test is from what?
the DNA company.
The DNA company.
.com.
Perfect.
It's pretty easy.
Easy.
And this test went so far to tell Brooke that one of her methylation, same one I have, the COMT, is thinning her epithelial lining in her arteries. Wow. And she is predisposed to cardiovascular disease. And her father died of a heart attack.
Wow.
And so at 44 years old, she's like, I need to put that on. I'm so glad I did this test because now I can put that on my radar. I can
Right.
start doing the things
Right.
that I need to do to change my future.
Yeah.
And also, she has the same estrogen issue I have.
Wow.
The 4-OH, I always forget the name of it. 4-OH, whatever.
The hydroxyprogesterone, the hydroxyestrogen, that one.
Yes.
17-OH, that one.
It's like the 4-OH.
Okay.
One of my estrogens,
Okay.
one of the many. If it's out of range, it causes DNA damage.
Got it.
And so right there, between my methylation being a hot mess, then I got a urine metabolite test, which I was saying at the hospital, I'm like, hey, I got triple positive breast cancer. When are we going to test my hormones?
Right.
And they didn't. They wouldn't. It wasn't of concern. So I had to go and pay myself to get a urine metabolite test to find out that one of my estrogens is off, and that particular estrogen causes DNA damage. So wherever that estrogen is, and you could probably speak better to this than me, wherever that estrogen's going and it's out of whack, it's causing damage to the cells that it's infiltrating.
Supplying.
So you're
Yeah.
working on, yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah.
So, okay. And Brooke said to me, I have that same estrogen issue. I'm 44 years old. You're 52.
Wow.
Like,
she's on the same trajectory.
I'm on the same trajectory as you. Like, this
Wow.
test just saved me from a heart attack and breast cancer.
Wow. I'm going to order it tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody should order it.
Yes.
I can't wait to get my results back, and I'll let you know
Yeah.
how they come back. But yeah, I just went on this like fishing expedition. Like I am the biggest science project I have ever done.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I have become an archaeologist.
Yes.
And I am just digging and digging and keep digging to find out.
So let me ask you, none of this is covered under your insurance.
So listen to this. That 9-week period, I get the surgery. They take it out. In 9 weeks, I was able to shrink one of the tumors by 2 millimeters.
Wow.
It was 9 millimeters, or it was 1.1 millimeters. The number 7 was, and it, when they took it out, it was 9 millimeters. The space between 5 and 7 was 5 centimeters, right?
Right.
When they took it out, it was 3.2
Wow.
centimeters.
In that short amount of time.
And when they told me that, I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, son of a bitch, if I had more time,
Yeah. Yeah.
if I wouldn't have done the surgery,
Right.
and I had more, I would have given it more time. I probably could have dissolved these fuckers myself.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But in the moment,
Of course.
get out.
Exactly.
Get it out of me. So
And now, you have implants?
I do.
You can not tell at all.
Yeah.
You didn't have implants before?
No.
No.
and I didn't want implants.
Yeah, because they're small.
Yeah.
They fit your body perfect.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they could do implants that small.
Yeah. I was going to try to go without.
Yeah.
I had 12 days, thank God. So they usually do the mastectomy and then they put in spacers.
Yes.
Well, they decided not to do that mid-surgery because of a blood flow issue to this breast.
Okay.
So the plastic surgeon was like, we're not doing it.
Wow.
I want to wait. Thank God. So no spacers. 12 days later, so they did the reconstruction. So I had 12 days to live with no breast. And I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to just see.
Yeah.
Like all natural.
Yeah.
And
Because you're all natural. You don't get Botox or anything. Your just skin looks.
I have gotten a little Botox, not anymore.
Oh, okay. Your skin just looks tight, but you don't look like you have Botox.
Well, now with the infusion of nutrients,
I can see that. That's what I'm
skin
seeing because
is
I know
glowing.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my skin, my hair.
Your hair is fantastic.
I've always had great hair, but
You
I have
have.
really great
Yeah.
hair. And that was what I told you. I wasn't joking in the hallway. I was like, you're not fucking taking my hair.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
That's so
I'm
hard.
like, and if that's me being vain, that's so
That's
be
fine.
it.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, like it's
So
just
the implants.
Yeah, the implants. So they, you know what did it for me is I went to go to the beach and I put on a bathing suit top.
Yeah. Then
And I was
me.
like, I live in workout clothes and a bathing suit.
I always say,
And I couldn't.
If it happened to me, I'm like, I'm gonna go big. I'm gonna go big or go home, because I've been so flat my entire life.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't want to create that for myself.
Right.
So
Yeah, don't.
let's just cancel. But I'm like, if it ever did, when Deidre was going through it, and she was like, she did consider it's called a deep flap. Mm-hmm. It's like DIEP. I think it stands for something where they take fat from your abdominal and tissue and they build a breast. She thought about that. She thought about gaining weight and doing fat injections. And I was like, this is like the least of your worry, because then there's talk about that the implants could cause issues, and that's a whole nother thing. But I was like, Deidre, this is like the least of your worries. Just get them and forget about it.
Yeah.
Like,
And move on.
Move on. Yeah.
Well, and so I get the implants, and then you got to wait 30 days to get your treatment plan. Okay. And so I go, and I went, this poor oncologist, I went in with 32 questions typed out, ready to go, ready to rock. Like,
Okay.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
let's go, man.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't know what to do with me.
Aw.
Like, it was bad. I was pissed.
Yeah.
They didn't have my pathology.
Wow.
She walked in with nothing in her hands, not even my file with my name on it, not even a pen.
Yeah.
And I like, there was fire coming out of my ears. I'm like, how do you come to a meeting with nothing in your hands and no pathology? Like, and you're going to give me a treat that's going to save my life.
Right.
And boy, it didn't go well, but, and I was drilling her with questions and she couldn't answer them.
Wow.
And so she wanted me to come back for a learning session. And I'm like, no, you're the oncologist. You're the expert. Like, you should know this. I know it.
Right.
You know, and there was the big downplay. So I'm getting ahead of myself. The treatment was stage 1, no lymph. I kept it out of the lymph.
Oh my God.
And it was
So your lymph node was
aggressive,
negative.
spreadable cancer. And I believe with everything I did
prior,
I kept it, I contained it.
Wow.
So it didn't touch the lymph.
Thank God.
Right. So we're contained, and they wanted to do 12 rounds of chemo.
Wow.
12 rounds of chemo, 15 rounds of Herceptin because of the HERS2 positive, and then 5 years of
Did you have a
tamoxifen.
high onco score?
They
Is
didn't
that
even do
why?
one.
So I wonder where they got the 12.
Well, I asked. I'm like, so...
Is it just an algorithm for like whatever your diagnosis gets this?
If the HERS2, you automatically get put in a category of
Yes.
X amount of chemo, X amount of Herceptin,
Yeah.
period. Like,
Okay.
no ifs, ands, or buts.
So how long is the protocol that you're on now? So now that it's out of your body, have you had a mammogram?
I will never get another mammogram in my life.
Okay.
I am doing thermography
Okay, yeah.
and ultrasound.
Okay.
So I had both in December, all clear.
Nice.
I just had, so in that meeting, when I told her no, I said no to the chemo, because they couldn't, I wanted them to prove to me that I had circulating tumor cells. And she was like, well, we don't do that. Like, we don't test for that. And I asked for a specific test, a Natera test to test me. And she said, that's not our standard of care. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing the chemo, especially if you can't prove that I have circulating tumor cells.
Wow.
And it didn't go in the lymph.
Wow.
So, no. And she goes, I go, what test will you do? And the CEA, the CA15-3, and the CA2729. I said, she goes, that's the test that we do to monitor your progress in treatment. And I said, okay, let's do those today. She goes, we don't do that. And I said, well, why not? Shouldn't you get a baseline?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, once you're in treatment, then we'll test you. And I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that. So I want you to test me today.
Yeah.
And I'm not leaving until you do.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh God. She wanted to get rid of me at this point. So she tested me and all my numbers came out super low. Like the CEA needed to be below a 3. It was less than 2. The other two, one needs to be 32 or less. I was a 10. Other one, 38 or less. I was a 12. So I'm like.
Yeah. And this is after.
After.
Okay.
And I just had that done again 90 days later. They're even lower. So they're
Good.
dropping. So
Good.
that my tumor markers are dropping.
Good.
And I'm still like, I'm going to get the DNA test done. I actually, when I did my urine metabolite test, I did it through Life Extension, which is here in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. Should I write this down? Urine metabolite test.
And they have been amazing. The doctor there.
Life extensions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah. I have my next appointment's on the 14th. I bought the metabolite test for $3.99, and I'm going on my 3rd visit with them for free.
Oh my God, I love this.
And he's
What is
so-
a urine metabolite test?
A Dutch test.
Oh, it is the Dutch test
Yeah.
for your hormones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And he gave me a
gonna do
whole
this
panel, like for inflammatory markers.
Yeah.
What is your inflammatory markers? Are they low?
Yeah, everything
Yeah.
came back great.
I just did mine recently and they were low.
My only issue right now is my red blood cell count is dropped.
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah. They want me to do a colonoscopy to make
Okay.
sure that I don't have any internal bleeding anywhere,
Okay.
which is fine. I need to
Yeah.
get one
yeah,
anyway.
anyways.
Or it could just be from, we don't know. We're going to
Okay.
find out though.
Okay.
But they've been great source of
Okay.
like helping me dig.
Life extensions.
But you asked the question about insurance, and that's one of the hardest things is that
It doesn't.
the chemo, Herceptin, all of that would easily be $100,000. Insurance covers it.
Yeah.
But my choice
Right.
of treatment
Right.
is not covered.
Right. So I have a friend who I just out of respect for her, I won't say her name, but she doesn't get insurance through her job because she just decided to save every month, put it in an account, and that's what she's using for all these things. Yeah. It's not Deidre.
Right.
And her husband works for the insurance companies. And I think I want to do that, but he won't let me because I think so we get insurance through Yoga Joint for the family. So it's Channing and I and the kids and Michael and Taylor.
That was the last insurance I had.
Was when you worked for me.
By the way, thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's such good insurance, but as you know, it gets taken out of your paycheck every 2 weeks. And when I look at it, I'm just like, and I understand because he's a doctor and he sees things and emergencies and I get that. But everything, I don't spend money on Chanel, on Louis Vuitton, I just don't. I spend money on getting
Your health.
all these supplements and the IVs
Me too.
and the non-toxic candles and the non-toxic hair dye for my grays. And it's where I want to spend the money. And I mean, of course, I get Botox and I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's so expensive.
Well-
We're doing this parasite cleanse, Chan and I and Taylor, and it's $1,000. And it's just like, here.
But you know, I was talking about this with a colleague the other day, and I said, but interestingly enough, if you do these things, not always, but I'm sure, but we're hopefully preventing some big thing that we're going to end up having to pay for health-wise later, whether insurance pays for it or not. I'd rather not go through something. If I can spend money to do it right now, I'd rather do that.
Right, but what I'm saying is let's do what you know who does, where she just takes the money that she would have made
The only
she
issue
puts
with
it in a
that
bank
is
account.
that, like, just for instance, with my arm situation,
Right.
like I got stuck with a needle from another doctor, and then I ended up with 2 years worth of surgery, rehab, like not being able to take care. And I'm
well, right.
personally-
That's why it's called insurance, because
Yeah.
it's an insurance plan. But it is, I do vacillate with that.
It pains me. I'm paying $600 a month for insurance.
It's a scam.
That is not covering the shit
it's a total
that I
scam.
needed to cover.
Yeah.
Like,
it's very frustrating.
It's
very frustrating.
That's it. It's just frustrating.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating.
Well, and thank God, last July, Just Lift, and my outside, and my and Orange Theory did a fundraiser for me.
Oh,
and
nice.
raised over $35,000 because I had to miss work and the surgeries and the deductible. And honestly, like, I'm gonna have to do a GoFundMe to get
let me know
through this
I will
year.
donate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I figured it out. It's going to be another $41,000.
Yeah.
And to do what I'm doing is a minimum of a 2-year commitment.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Is there
it's 2 years? Every person
all of it, the Fenben, the ivermectin, that's all, and you take that every day?
The Fenben is Monday through Friday.
Okay.
So some things are cycled. Like right now, I'm off the methylene blue.
Okay.
We're waiting to get my DNA test back because it's going to tell me if some of the supplements I don't need. Like with Brooke, she doesn't absorb glutathione. Oh, bless you.
Bless you. The glutathione. Maybe it's a non-toxic candle.
We'll blow it out. She doesn't absorb glutathione. She's been taking glutathione for years. And she's like, I don't absorb it.
Yeah.
So I have to do something different. So we're going to, with her help, we're going to narrow down, and with life extension, I'm going to try to narrow down, which means narrow down the expense.
Yes.
But yeah, this shit's expensive.
Yeah, it's wild. So what is your diet like?
In the beginning, it was very nutrient.
I should say, what was your diet before?
It was I was very macro driven.
Okay.
And I'm lifting, so high protein. I ate carbs.
Yeah.
I do.
So protein like meat,
Yep.
chicken, fish. Okay.
Yeah.
And then carbs like potatoes, rice,
Vegetables,
veggies.
Yeah. I mean,
fruit.
Very healthy.
Right.
I was very ingredient based. I go more by ingredients.
Okay.
So not minimal processed.
Okay.
When this happened, the first book I read was Crispy Cancer. And I got a micronutrient test, and I just went very nutrient dense. So a lot of juicing, took out all processed foods, took out all meat, and just bombarded my system with fruits and vegetables and beans and, and it was hard. I mean, and I could tell once I got cleared to start exercising again, I was like, I can tell the difference, my body, between a meat eating body and a non-meat eating body. And it responds to exercise very differently.
Yeah.
So just in this past month, I started incorporating grass-fed, grass-finished, organic red meat, because I can tell my body is like needing it. Yeah. I need it. So I've incorporated that back in. I'm staying away from fish and chicken because it's too stepped on. Yeah. Like I feel like I found a good source. I was actually wanted to talk to you about where you guys.
Yeah, we love our place in Boca. Easy Meats.
Yeah, but we don't, not to dig on Easy Meats because we love it, but we don't really know. Like, they say it's a grass-fed, like grass-finished, grass-fed carrot finish. Yeah, but it would be, I would like to find a place that, like, I'm literally talking to the farmer. Like,
there's that farm out in.
I didn't like it.
Oh, really?
In Southwest Ranches?
Yes.
We got meat from there and I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
I know, but a couple of my girlfriends, they get it. Kelly gets it. Danielle gets it, and they love it. I just didn't like the taste.
Yeah.
I know. But I'm still kind of searching.
Well, and I get the really lean, like ground, because, with animals and people,
Yeah.
your toxins are stored in the fat.
Right.
So I just make sure I get really lean meat.
Okay.
So that I'm not taking in a lot of the fat.
Right.
Because I can just tell my body needs it. And that might be why my red blood cell count has dropped as well. So
that's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
But
It's interesting to listen, because I was just listening to this podcast on, I'm not sure if it's Sean Baker or Kent Berry or Anthony Cheffy. It's one of these carnivore guys that I listen to. And it was a guy who was diagnosed with cancer and went carnivore. And that's like, everybody says like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But his journey was, he went through a ton of testing and he had super high oxalates and was allergic to everything that he was eating, thinking it was helping him. So it goes back to what you were saying. Now, for me personally, I don't know what's best for me yet, because I'm still on the journey, but it is interesting. Like,
you're going to do the DNA test and you're going to find out.
And I'm going to find out. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I just want to know, like, I definitely know when I was eating grains and such, I felt terrible. I definitely know when I was vegan and even going vegetarian, adding some fish, and I know I felt terrible. I know eating strict carnivore, I feel really good, but I also recognize that there are people that say that it's not great for your heart and it's not great, your high cholesterol and all these things. So I'm cognizant of what the naysayers are saying, and I want to make sure that that's not going to be an issue. And also, like, I know there's not like a normal, but I want to feel normal. Like, I want to be able to eat a nice salad when I'm out to dinner, but I feel like total shit
after
when I eat a salad.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
Yeah. So
and
then why do it?
I know. So now I'm like, I
that's
don't.
how far we've got now.
That's how far. That's
why
where we
you
are
doing
now.
it?
Like,
why are you doing
people
it?
are like, you literally eat a ribeye and a fillet and eggs during the day, and I'm like, yeah. Pretty much. But my stomach is flat. I'm not farting. I'm not like my stomach. My skin, like. But
your post about your skin was awesome. I love that.
Is that funny? I have like porpoise skin. Although somebody commented and was like, that's actually a really big problem. So call your dermatologist. So of course I call my dermatologist. He's skiing right now with his beautiful wife and family. And he's like, no, like it's the collagen, like everybody's saying. But I just love that your message is like, you have to figure this out for you. You have to be an advocate. I think that more and more, that's the message.
Yep.
And I've been very vocal on this podcast that I'm going through my own health journey. And I still right now am like silently suffering with whatever this thing is. Like I pee a ton at night. And then it could be hormones, but my hormones are coming back normal. But I do want to do the Dutch test because I haven't done that yet. And then I, like so many people listening, I get busy, and then days go into months and months go into years. And then all of a sudden it's like, I've been having this like silent battle for a couple years now, but I'm like, oh my God, it has been 2 years. Like, how did 2 years go by?
Right.
It's like a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And it's just wild. So I wanted to ask you before I forget, do you drink alcohol? Like, what's your take on alcohol?
Yeah. I mean, I did before.
Yeah.
I did. And I, like, at Christmas, I was at a friend's for Christmas. I had a glass of wine, and honestly, I'd like put it out. Like, I mean, I've had a drink, but and then it's like, no,
your body's not like,
my body's like,
don't do it.
It's like that social,
have
it in your hand social thing, and then I'm like, it. I mean, and it's crazy because recently, it's a carcinogen.
Yeah, I saw that.
It is. Yeah. It is a carcinogen.
It was interesting though. I follow this housewife. She's a housewife from Miami, and she has she's a in recovery from breast cancer, very recent, within the past couple years, like Deidre, around the same, her name's Gertie, around the same timeline. And she posted something, which I thought was interesting. My New Year's resolution, and I've already been thinking about this prior to New Year's, is I really want to see everybody's side of the story, because I'm very headstrong and I'm the only girl in my family and I'm the baby and everybody kind of caters to me. And at work, of course, everybody caters to me because I'm me. And I tend to just get yesed. And if it's kind of like my way or the highway, and it doesn't serve me to be like this at all. Maybe when I was younger, it worked. And through therapy, I've realized that it's just not a great way to be. So I'm very curious about other people's opinions and why they do it. Of course, you have to be discerning for your own life, and you have opinions and judgments. We're human, but this is part of my growth and my New Year's resolution. So I followed this woman, and she was saying, you know what, guys, listen, I am a breast cancer survivor, and I don't want people to read this and get all crazy about it. Like, if you want to go have a drink, have a drink. Yeah. If you want, and she's saying all this, and I found myself judging her, because you have a perfect excuse. If you're out and somebody hands you a drink, you can say, I'm a breast cancer survivor. Yeah. I don't want to drink. There are no social pressure for you. Nobody on the planet is going to judge you for not drinking. You're a breast cancer survivor. You're a cancer survivor. You don't know if the alcohol that you drank caused you to have cancer. And I
absolutely believe that it did.
You do.
Absolutely. Especially with what I've learned in the last 7 months.
Okay, so that's so interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So then going back to what you said about the social norm, why didn't you say, I literally am coming off a breast cancer diagnosis. No, thank you.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's
so crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's so hard for people.
Yeah.
I mean, I struggled with it for the first year. I'm like 2.5 years in, no alcohol. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I do.
And the first year was really hard for me too. And I isolated. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to, even my neighborhood were friendly, everybody, and they're big drinkers. I mean, it just is what it is. And no shade if you're listening and you are who you are. But a lot of people have slowed down. Not a lot. One woman has slowed down a ton for her own health reasons. But everybody else were big drinkers. They're big drinkers in this neighborhood. And I find that, like, even when I'm around them, it's almost like they don't want to really be around me, is the vibe I get. Right. And I'm like, no, like, I can have a good time. I can still be here. I just don't have to drink. I'm not judging you. I'm really not, because maybe you're the person that can drink and be totally fine. Right. Maybe that's your genes, because there are people like that. I mean, Nancy, I talk about her on the pod. She's a health coach, Nancy Adams. I don't know if you know her. She used to go to Yoga Joint. I've known her for 20 years. Her mom is still alive, and she's like 150, and she drinks
good longevity,
a whiskey. So, like, for her,
everybody's different.
Exactly. For me, alcohol was fucking me up sideways, like, not good. Yeah. And I was fighting with him, and I was mean to the kids. And meanwhile, all these personality traits that I had for all these years, I thought was just me. It was the alcohol.
Yeah.
It was wild. So alcohol and me don't mix, but I was curious what your take is, because it's a very hot topic, and everybody has their own opinion on that. So you think for sure.
And in the healing process, it makes zero sense to me. And I know that, so.
I happen to agree.
Yeah. I mean, it does. I mean, my methylation is broken. So.
Yeah. So why are you going to put more poison?
So, yeah. And I had a moment with myself post Christmas where it's like, okay, we're not doing that.
Right.
And that, it's okay. Like, that's
you can use that. You can use what I'm saying. Is you can say, I'm a breast cancer survivor. I don't drink alcohol.
Yeah. And it's, I don't feel any pressure. It's more internal.
Yeah. That's what all my friends say. Everybody more, that,
like, it's what you used to do.
Exactly.
Whether it was a year ago or forever ago or whatever. But
it's a part of your identity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But to your point as well is like, you know, when I decided to go public and put this out on social media, which was, you know, a lot of people keep it to themselves.
Yes.
And I was like, fuck that. I'm gonna document this. I'm gonna tell everybody how I feel in the moment that I'm feeling it. And
I love watching your journey.
yeah,
I've really,
it's been very therapeutic.
yeah.
too.
And it's been
that's so
helpful.
good. Yeah, it's so
It's been
good.
helpful because it lights fires up people's asses.
I've had more people
Yeah.
reach out to me and say, because of you, I
Yes.
did this. Because
Yes.
of you. And I'm like,
And even this podcast, people are going to go and they're going to do this DNA test and they're going to,
Yeah.
and we wouldn't have known that if you weren't sitting here tonight.
well, and that was one of the biggest things that I was in my pity party of why me, and I was sitting on the beach, and this is a true story. I had a moment. I had this like inner body experience, and I don't know if I created it myself to justify how I was feeling, but I still feel this way very, very, very strongly. I was chosen.
Wow.
That I was chosen to go through
Wow, I just got the chills.
this journey this way because I have a big mouth and I'm gonna tell everybody.
And you're loud.
And I'm loud and I want people to hear it. And I want and right when I said that, whenever that message came to me, I said, okay, you know, there's a purpose, there's a reason for this. What is the reason? And I went straight to, you know, any other woman going through what I have gone through and I'm still going through.
Yes.
I want to be a support to them because I'm a pretty strong bitch. Like I'm a strong chick. And I know that about myself. And I want to help another woman going through this, whatever her choice is, to know that there is another way.
Right.
And my biggest thing is let's get to the root.
Let's get to the root.
The root.
That's what I'm trying.
has
That's
to
what.
be
That's the journey
addressed.
I'm on. The root. I just want to get to the root. I am not supposed to be feeling the way I've been feeling these last couple of
Yeah,
years.
you can't slap chemo on it. You
Yes.
can't slap a pill on it. You gotta dig. You gotta become the archaeologist. And
Yes.
you gotta dig and you dig.
Yes.
I mean, I've got a whole list of tests that I'm gonna get done and keep digging and figure it out and
this.
find it out.
I love this.
And I
You're
wanna
inspiring me.
I wanna be that strength
For
for
people.
someone else that's weak or that advocate. I right now I have 3 clients that are cancer
Wow.
clients. And
And when you say clients, so the audience knows, it's personal training.
no, it's nutrition.
Nutrition,
And, yeah.
okay.
Nutrition. I basically have taken everything that I've done and I'm piecing it together. The books that I've read, the things that I listen to, my mindset stuff, the tests that I'm taking, the foods that I'm eating, the supplements, like how does it attack cancer? How does it kill cancer? How, you know, and creating basically a library.
Okay.
And I'm sharing that. I have a recent breast cancer. I have a male came out of nowhere, out of Indiana, with stage 3 lymphoma.
Wow.
Yeah. And then a 72-year-old woman with breast cancer.
Okay.
And I'm not their doctor. I'm not.
You're just another support system. It's another limb. It's just
Right.
another limb.
And give them the hope and the encouragement.
Yeah.
And look, when I was going through what I was going through, I was asking for, not that I needed it, but I was asking for nutrition advice.
Yeah.
They don't supply it unless you're in treatment. You'll get nutrition advice if you're in treatment, but lifestyle stuff, forget about it. You're on your own. So I want to bring that lifestyle. So that person, then there's you, the 40-year-old mom
Yeah.
who has children
I wish I was 40, Barb.
that
what I would do
in
to
the
be 40.
40s that doesn't have breast cancer, that
But wants to get ahead of it.
that I can help you get ahead
Yes.
of it, and then there's your daughter.
Yes.
That
I'm going to get this test for her too.
yeah,
And the Dutch test.
like the first thing I did when I felt up to it is I did a prevention workshop. I did a 2-part. It was happened to be October, and I did a
Perfect. Yeah.
breast cancer prevention workshop.
Okay.
And dug in and had like 30 people on it, which I thought was great.
Yes.
And talked about all the metabolic thermography.
Okay.
Because I feel like I gave them a whole checklist. I'll send you the checklist.
Okay, that would be amazing. And we know a girl here, Nicole Austin in Fort Lauderdale. She does thermography here locally. So I've gotten it done.
Okay.
And I'll go do it again.
Yeah.
I haven't done it in a while, but it's really interesting.
Prevention. I mean, there's so many things.
Yes.
And I've had people say, well, God, that's just so much. It's so much work.
It's going to be a lot of work when you get hit with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
that's
you
gonna
either
be
do the
more
work now or
Exactly.
you freak the fuck out later.
Exactly.
Like it's one or the
Exactly.
other.
So for the audience, we can link everything, right, babe? We can link all her information, but they can just basically reach out to you on social media.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Social
I love
media,
that.
Or
and
my website.
Okay, what's
as
your
well.
website?
BAMFit4life.com.
So BAM, like BAM. Okay, BAM Fit, FIT.
4life.com.
Perfect.
Those
okay.
are my initials. Everyone's like, what?
Bam, that's a cool initials.
Yeah.
Oh
Bam,
my
bam.
God.
So when I was a little kid, from the cartoons, bam,
Yeah.
swoosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's
whenever
awesome.
I would sign and do my initials, I always would do BAM exclamation point.
That's like
So-
Batman. Yeah.
Yeah. So when
I
I was
love
making
this.
coming up with a name
Perfect.
for my business,
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
perfect.
bam.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's you. It's you. I love that. Well, this has been so amazing. Thank you so
you.
much.
Yeah,
I
thanks,
feel like
Barb.
we
It
have to
was
do a
good.
part 2.
Yeah, it was great.
For sure. So
Well, I
maybe
actually I wanted to ask about the gut health stuff, but we'll have to do that in part 2 because that's probably a whole podcast.
Yeah, that would be great. So
Yeah.
maybe in
Definitely.
a couple of months we can have you back on and we can go
Absolutely.
through some of the gut stuff. I want to get into that too. And I also want to know more about the Femben and the ivermectin. So we will have Barb back on. Thank you
Thank
so
you so much.
Thank you.
I
No, thank you.
appreciate
This
it.
was awesome.
Thank you.
So comfortable.
Thank you, babe. Oh, yay. Even though it was hot, I guess because I have like this winter thing on, but it's starting to get hot. That's so funny. We try to keep them like an